right. Happy Thursday. It's another Thursday. Is it the last of
This is the last Thursday of the month.
September is really in a rush to get somewhere. Did you say somebody said that?
Yeah.
Because
Ekamini said
it's Academy.
Yes. Said
I think I said it right.
September has somewhere to be.
Obviously.
Because it just flew.
Summer was the never-ending story, but September was like, I'm here, I'm gone. And you know why? Because of the Virgos. You know the Virgos don't really play. They're like, we gotta get it going. Y'all celestial energy season was like, come on now, let's get to work, let's do the thing. And now it's over.
That's it.
Anyway,
it is fall.
About the things.
Are you excited?
Yeah, fall. You know, LA is very weird with the seasons, but it's nice to feel crisp and cozy and be inside. Mm-hmm. I know some of y'all are into the pumpkins. Matt, thank you for that pumpkin love. It was delicious. Because I'm a sweet potato, child. The pumpkin. Oh God, me and the pumpkin. See, the locks always want to be in the shot. Me and the pumpkin ain't simpatico, but that was delicious. So thank you. But yeah,
holiday season is coming.
Holiday season.
Listen,
it is indigenous people's holiday is coming.
Celebrate the veterans. You have a lot of new military friends.
I have a lot of new military friends. Yeah. It was just Yom Kippur. Was it Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah? I think it was Yom Kippur.
I think it was Rosh Hashanah.
But is it? I'm sorry, I don't.
But anyway,
they were saying Happy New Year. So whichever
the strike is over.
The Writers Guild strike is over. I am not a member. I knew this was going to happen. I am not a member of the WGA yet, but I am a member of SAG, and they're supposed to be talking with us on Monday. So we'll see how it goes. They only did this because they was running out of content. I just want everyone to know that. I mean, we're happy, yay. I know people was having a hard time, so welcome back. But I think we're going to be negotiating more often than not. But continue.
But listen, so we're looking forward to the holiday season. I know some of y'all are getting ready for cuffing season. I don't know if it's officially started. No, I think we might have a little bit more time, but I know people.
I just know y'all be trying to be locked down for Christmas season for engagement.
Preparing. I think it starts a little bit like around Halloween or after or something like that. Sure. Any of y'all know when the official start of cuffing season is?
Drop the cuffing season date
in there.
Let us comments.
Know. Whatever is in store for you this last quarter of 2023 that just flew by, chances are you might have to have a couple of difficult conversations as you get ready for the holidays, as you prepare to spend time with your family, whatever it is that you're going to be doing this last quarter. You might have to have a conversation with somebody that might be a little challenging. And the thought of that might be giving you some anxiety. So if that is the case, stick around. This episode is for you.
Hi, I'm Pam Williams, a mother.
And I'm Jessica E. Williams, a daughter. And this is a Mother and a Daughter Truthful Chat, where we discuss our 35-year multi-layered relationship.
We've been through so many ups and downs. Not only are we family, but we're business partners in the high-stress world of event planning and production for short films.
We've also shared the same therapist for over 10 years. What some people call codependence, we call collaboration.
So join us as we share stories from our lives,
have candid conversations with other mother-daughter duos,
and shed light on the roller coaster ride of being a woman while raising a woman.
Welcome. Oh, that's right. Tradition. Welcome to Truthful Chats. If you're just now joining us for the first time or you're back, we love you either way. Truthful Chats is a offshoot of Create Generational Wellness, which is where you are. And Truthful Chats are designed to, oh Lord, I'm forgetting the spiel. I know it, y'all. My brain is a little tired today, but it's okay. Truthful Chats are designed to get us to the ongoing practice of generational wellness. If you have no idea what that means or what those terms are, I think we made it up. So either way,
but it works.
It's in a description box or something around. So every month at Create Generational Wellness, we have a theme of the month. Truthful Chats is where we unpack that thing just a little bit. Unpacking of themes is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And the theme this month has been no. K-N-O-W.
Which sometimes includes a no.
The N-O as well.
We're here for the N-O.
No. And today's episode is No and Tell, Navigating Difficult Conversations. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. We can all agree that having difficult conversations is not one of our favorite things.
For some people.
Was that a lot of musical references all over?
Oh,
anyway,
yeah,
was that a lot of musical references?
Not one of my favorite things.
But they're kind of for some people, unless you just pop off Patty, pop off Paul, you just want the smoke all the time. I don't know. There's always healthy. I'm not mad at it, but I just don't know. It's always healthy. Unless you're that person that's always protecting other people. I feel like if you're a protector, sometimes you just go off. Anyway, they can be difficult, of course, but they are also an inevitable part of life, whether you are talking about professionally, personally. You gotta give constructive feedback. You have, something sensitive that you need to communicate. You gotta resolve conflicts. I was just talking to somebody about that yesterday. If you deal with humans and humans need to be effectively communicated with, therefore difficult conversations must be had and should be had. But they can be challenging. Okay, we've talked about this before. Particularly if you do not necessarily feel like you know yourself well enough to have said conversations, you just know you'd be feeling some type of way. So there's plenty of episodes that you can go back and watch about being triggered and why things affect you in a particular way or situation. And we talked about being able to recognize those things, but it's also about navigating the times and the season. That's very churchy, I'm sure. But these conversations don't need to be had at all times. Do you know what I mean? There's just a time and a place. But the holidays are coming up, so some of these people you may have been able to avoid them for the rest of the year. Yeah. But now, you come back home. We live in LA, so we have a lot of transplants. So I don't know. Sometimes we play host family for people. I don't know that we're any better than your actual family, but we're usually cool with you. We reserve all of our dysfunction and chaos for each other. But everybody feels jovial and, happy to be around or whatever. So anyway, you might not be able to avoid said conversations while you prepare to go home. So we want to make sure that
when your family comes to you,
you feel prepared. And you want to be able to navigate these conversations with confidence, okay? Positive outcomes. Hopefully everybody will be able to hear each other without it turning into like a soul food situation. You remember in Soul Food where Vanessa Williams found out her husband had slept with her cousin, and then they was like, it was knives going everywhere, and it just got really bad. Soul Food was very dysfunctional for a lot of reasons. But I just remember that as like the standout, like, oh shoot, we didn't go here moment. So let's just talk about the psychology of it a little bit, why it proves difficult, all said things about why having difficult conversations can be hard. Okay, so pretty much there's 5 types of difficult conversations, said people who do this for a living. So conflict resolution, okay, that's number 1. Usually, you have a conflict with said individual, or individual has conflict with you, and hopefully this has not escalated to violence. So do what you got to do. But you want to resolve it. You hope to make it better ultimately, so that your friendship or your relationship can continue. Perhaps end.
Weren't you
I was a conflict resolution counselor
in high school.
Because all of my friends really feel like I'd be psychic when I'd be talking to them about themselves or their relationships or whatever. And like, how do you know this? I've been studying human behavior for a very, very long time. As a second generation storyteller, that's just kind of what I do. I observe people to be able to put it in a story or use it in some sort of story fashion. So anyway, yes, conflict resolution was a skill set that I picked up in high school. And it's a lot about active listening. Okay, it's about active listening and about expressing yourself in I statements, which we will talk about later, instead of accusatory statements, which can be difficult, but things of that nature. Okay, number two, giving and receiving feedback. A lot of y'all like to give feedback, but the receiving part is challenging. So anyway, that is a matter of you have feedback, hopefully, what's the word I'm looking for? constructive without being negative. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or positive. That's good. All I'm saying is you're not trying to tear somebody down, because sometimes people think that giving feedback is tearing people down, and that's not that. Hopefully you have something that will help somebody grow and expand and evolve. That's what
the point of
feedback is.
Feedback is to tell somebody something that's going to make the situation better
or make them better. But you know, there's a way to do that, which is why we're all here, because sometimes we don't be knowing the ways.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, addressing sensitive topics. America. For some of y'all, that might be religion. Some of y'all come from various backgrounds where, you know, one parent is one thing, another parent is another thing, or another parent don't believe in nothing, and so that's the thing. Race for all y'all that be having mixed family groups, mixed family situations,
mixed friendships.
God bless y'all. You know, I mean, in a way that is like awkward. Like we have a few, but we know they down. It's when you be going, you know, some of y'all be like, I'm gonna go to my friend so and so's Thanksgiving, and they be using some of the old timey words and slang. I don't know what's wrong. They're just from a different time. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
and that just ain't race. It's sexual orientation.
Yep.
All
politics,
kind of
all the things. These are sensitive things that sometimes, especially since 2016, we have a lot of times when you go places, people have just agreed to not talk about it because
we have somebody like that in our family.
It can turn into,
he is a MAGA stan, and we was like, nah, fam.
It can turn into, you know, you just have to say
it could turn into not a good time.
We're not gonna talk about that. We know what you believe, you know what we believe. So let's agree to not talk about it because it's going to turn ugly.
Number 4, breaking bad news. This is just,
you got to tell somebody something.
In general.
Going to hurt.
Yeah.
It's sad. You got to tell somebody.
Somebody passed or
divorced.
People ain't together no more or I don't know. Custody battles. All kind of things that, you know. Like
it's real bad news.
Number 5. Discussing personal boundaries. Now, I did just learn this from Aisha. Shout out to you, sis. Personal boundaries is really for you. They're not really for the other person. I think, you know, society be having buzzwords. So a lot of times people be like, these are my personal boundaries, and let me tell you about my boundaries. It's not really for that. It's really for you to know in yourself.
Oh, you've crossed that boundary and I'm done.
This is where my boundary has been crossed and I feel some type of way. Now, there's a way that you could communicate that should you feel like you need to communicate that boundary.
And you want to stay in relationship with that person. And you feel like it would be beneficial to know.
There's a way to do it.
Yes. There's some people that are just boundary busters. They have no concept what personal boundaries are. Huh?
Why do you think that is?
I think it is because...
Like, give an example. I don't know if I know. I don't think I know no personal boundary busters because I just feel like I'm.
You know, they say the inappropriate. They say in a social setting, they say inappropriate stuff all the time, and you'd be like, "Don't you know? Can't you read the room? Do you see or understand that might not have been the best time to say that or the right thing to say?" Or they'll say something, and it was, you know, it's like.
Just inappropriate
for the time. Like
we're not talking about people who are on the spectrum or maybe have behavioral emotional problems. We're just talking about what seem like people that should be able to do these sort of things. We're not talking about cognitive situations. Just like we feel like maybe you should know that, but obviously you don't. Yeah. So yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, those are the 5.
Five. Right. So. Why can the conversations be difficult and what's the psychology behind it? Okay, let's talk about this. So the first one, people have fear and avoidance. You don't want to talk about the conversation. You don't want to talk about it because you think it's going to turn ugly. It's going to turn into a big fight. It's going to turn into...
Are these people who are like conflict avoidant?
Conflict avoidant.
I know I am for the most part. Like it takes a lot to push me over that edge, and it's because I don't want to expend the energy on that.
Yeah.
Like unless I thank you, Janae. Unless I absolutely have to, like it just feels like an extra expensive extra energy that I do not have.
We were having that conversation yesterday. You asked me why I didn't do something or why I didn't talk, and I said like I have a limited amount of energy, during this season and space of my life. And if there's something that I feel like ultimately it's not going to change, there's not going to be any resolution to it, then I sometimes make the decision that I'm not going to spend my energy on it right now. Usually I will come back to it. But then when you
going to get to it?
Well, I get to it when I have more energy.
But I think you're going to get to it because I know some things you ain't. Well, you keep saying you're going to get to it, but you ain't got to.
I don't have that energy yet. But anyway, at least.
When you going to get it? In the grave? Anyway.
Which brings us to another thing. What happens when you avoid the conversations, though? Like, there are some conversations that need to be had, and you're fearful of it.
The situation fluctuates and it don't change.
You think you're going to get rejected. It's going to be a big fight, a blow up or whatever. And you'd be like, I ain't got the energy for all that today. So you avoid it. But I guarantee you, at some point,
it's going to come back around.
Boom!
Boomerang.
It's going to boom. And it's
Shout out to Jadena. That's a great record.
Blow up on everybody. Again, the emotional intensity of it. You got to have a conversation with somebody that doesn't have conversations well. So then you're going to have drama. You trying to say one little thing, and it's going to turn into a whole August Wilson play. You know what I'm saying? It's just going to, because sometimes,
monologues. Let me just say this. Black men know how to monologue, honey. Okay? Black women too. They actually know. The monologues are inherent. They come prepared. If you press the right buttons, the monologue.
So sometimes you might decide, I don't have the energy. Protect your energy. I don't have the energy for that drama today. Sometimes the reason people psychologically want to avoid a difficult conversation is a power struggle. It's a power dynamic. Well, you see, there's some specific things. Like, for example, if you're a wife, and this just throwing this out because it's easy to understand. You're a wife, you don't work, you don't have your own income, your husband takes care of everything, all the bills, this, that, and other, blah, blah, blah.
But you take care of the house, though.
But you take care of the house. But you want to have a conversation, but you're afraid, like, he has the power because he has the money, Or let's put it in terms of work. Your boss is doing something that's really foul. Everybody in the whole department knows it's foul. Somebody needs to speak up and say something. Is it going to be you or is it not? Because of the power dynamic. It is the boss. He could make life difficult for you. You actually, sometimes you see this a lot in church, and it's, one of the things I have a thing in my heart about is, especially in Black churches, you will have a really, white churches. I just don't go there, but really powerful, charismatic, domineering man
that's been happening
that's leading the congregation. And again, somebody might want to say something about, maybe we could do this way, pastor, or maybe we could do, but there's a power dynamic in place where people feel like they don't have that space or whatever. So you avoid the conversation.
And I feel like our generation, millennials, are saying, because I think y'all kind of always knew inherently that there was a power dynamic, but like
in church or just general?
Just in general, these power dynamics between like bosses or, leaders, like, but I feel like we're the first generation to be like, well, we gonna say it though. You know what I mean? It's like,
this is true.
Everybody was like, well, this is bad. And, you look at all the sexual harassment scandals of Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill. We like, this man was doing this all the time. And y'all was just, now you have a Me Too situation with the movement coming out. Like, I just feel like and sometimes people don't really realize that they are abusing their power sometimes. Like, because people have been, and I'm not saying this right, I'm just saying they have been doing it for so long and it was normalized.
Yeah.
That it's only within the last, couple, I would say like maybe 20 years.
Yeah,
people
they
been
just
like,
had to fight the power.
Oh no, hell no, we're not gonna put up with this. That's not normal. So I think maybe just having more conversations for people in positions of power to realize you are in a position of power. I don't care if the people you work with are your best friends. Like, when it comes down to what's on paper and money wise and positions of power, like, you are the person who has the authority or the power to say so over this person. So a really good everybody recognizes that.
Yeah, and a really good leader can have power but can understand that there's information
and there's levels of abuse.
Information that can come and that can help you be a better leader, or information that could come and that you just should respect the conversations, and they should be respectful. Cultural differences, okay? We talked about this, a little bit about, holidays where you have, mixed families or this, that, and the other. But again, cultural differences, we noticed this. I'm going to tell you, we're in theater. And so we have noticed that when we go to the theater, when the play is over, predominantly white
spaces that are now doing blackout nights and want to have
black plays or whatever,
and they're safe spaces for Black people now.
But here's a cultural difference that we've noticed. Black people are communal, so when the play is over, it's like church. We're not gonna say very nice play and file out the door and go home. We're going to be in the lobby. We're gonna be chit chatting. We're gonna talking to each other. We're gonna, going
everything
over here.
Is a family reunion.
It's a family reunion. It's a cookout. It's whatever. So we're going to talk about the play. We're going to catch up. We're going to this. We're going to do that. And we might be in the theater 30 minutes after the play is over.
More like an hour.
Just kiki-kiing and la. Whereas the cultural difference there is when the play is over, within 10 minutes,
you say, thank you, and whoever to the actors, and then you leave.
It's over. And so we've seen that.
Or maybe go meet at a different restaurant.
Right. They start turning out the lights and doing this or whatever. That's a cultural difference. And then everybody be like, wait, what?
But then we'd be like, it's the same at church. We'd be like, oh, ain't got to go home, but we got to get out of here. We just know what that means.
So cultural differences, you may not feel understood. You may not feel that what you're doing is respected. That's just a clear example that we've had recently. But again, if it's so deep and the schism is so good, you may feel it's futile to have the conversation. Now, in that particular instance, we've already figured out how we can start telling these spaces. When you invite a Black audience into your space, it's going to be different. But that's a conversation that might be a little bit difficult. But again, it's a conversation that needs to be had.
It's the same thing, call and response. We are going to talk through the whole show. People are going to comment loudly. They're like, woo, girl. Like we just do things very differently than traditional theatrical audiences, meaning white people and watching plays.
And that carries across the board, and that could be at work. You can have cultural differences there that impact how people view you and see you. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Lack of communication skills or experience. You just may not know how to have healthy conversations. You might not know how to have a healthy conversation. And that is something that you can learn. A lot of people don't realize that you can learn how to have better conversations. And we talk about that in terms of your emotional intelligence and being able to understand, first of all, what you feel and be able to clearly articulate why you feel about that. Why you feel, what you feel, how you can talk about it, how you can get to understand why you feel the way that you feel.
And can I just put a pin in this?
Yes, please.
Just because, I think we all think that because someone is our mother or our father or our sibling, we just have the assumption that humans just naturally know how to communicate. And at the end of the day, I think you've hopefully learned by now, most humans are trash communicators. They just not come into the planet with these skills. And whatever skills they have learned, some of them might work, some areas need work. That's why we gather weekly to discuss these things. But I think you have to sort of grieve and sometimes be sad about you just expected that your mama would know how to do this because she's your mom. And that might not necessarily be the case, okay? Or your dad to communicate well, and that just might not be the case. So sometimes you gotta have that little funeral for your little expectations and be like, oh wow, I really thought that this was gonna be a thing. It's not. And then, start all over again, to quote the great B. Slade. And then just, figure out building a little emotional blocks. We have a lot of episodes about said things. But I think that's the main thing, to just not feel like something's wrong with you or wrong with people. These are just skills that people we don't really teach them. You just kind of figure the things out as you go. And it might not always be correct.
And that goes back to cultural differences too. because as Black people,
We don't
our tradition and our history in this country has been one of survival, right? So all that time to be talking about feelings and emotions and your mental health and your this, that, and the other, and your triggers and your boundaries or whatever. 20 years ago, Black people were not talking about that. They were just talking about how to
try to survive the day.
Yeah,
which we still are, but we have layers.
We have layers now. We've come along.
Well, we have layers. We've always had layers. We're allowed to express those layers because you got to put into consideration like we're not considered humans.
Yeah,
and in some places, we're still not considered humans to this day. So,
but you watch shows, where Black men are being talked down to or this, that, and the other, and there is rage there and they have something to say, but in order to not get killed, they don't say it. So it's kind of like a cultural thing where we've had to teach ourselves that it's okay to speak up. It's okay to say what you're feeling. It's okay.
It's okay to have them feelings.
Have them and articulate them.
You're a human being.
So self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, understanding other people's perspectives. Like Jessica said, there's a lot of episodes about that. You can go back and listen to that. And, social skills that are necessary for effective communication. Now, this is something really interesting I want to talk about a little bit. Biases in terms of your communication and how you learn to talk to people. So I'm just going to talk about 3 really quickly because we'll probably talk about it more lately.
We probably have all been introduced to the term bias based on racial bias. Like after George Floyd and everyone else that was killed. George Floyd was when people started really paying attention because everybody was at home and had nothing else to do. Anyway, racial bias or I think it was implicit racial bias is the idea that we've all been raised and reared, mainly under white supremacy, with certain ideologies about various people groups, mainly put together by the ideology of white supremacy, that gives us certain racial implicit bias about another culture or people of other skin colors, based on just it's in the air. Okay, we just
on the news.
We just been drinking it in for a long time.
It's in the movies.
They were saying at the time that
Birth of a Nation.
Well, and we know, of course, the history of policing if you know it, but police have certain implicit racial bias when it comes to particular individuals, mainly Black and brown people, about how they think people are going to behave or act or whatever once they're pulled over or stopped or whatever the thing is. So they're, trying to get a handle on the situation early, which often leads to them being overly aggressive, doing the most, et cetera, et cetera. So we usually hear about that in racial implicit bias. Yeah. Now we're talking about it in terms of personal, individual bias in terms of our mental and emotional health. So just want to clear that.
Good. That's very good. Thank you. So confirmation bias. So that's when you think something and wherever you got that information from, nobody really knows for sure, but it's based on your own beliefs and experiences. So everything that you see or whatever, you confirm it based on those beliefs and experiences, which may or may not be true, which may or may not be the truth. They're your personal truth, but they may not be what the situation really is. So,
and we've actually talked about this before in terms of, I think we talked about projecting. Yeah. But like it's the kind of thing where your mind is really powerful. So if you have a particular internal confirmation bias or something that you think that's a core like rooted belief, and we all have something, okay, that we believe either we're not good enough or we need to try harder or we're not lovable or whatever our core belief is. Confirmation bias, if that's how you feel, that's what you're putting out, right? Which is kind of what you get back.
Yeah.
So confirmation bias is a little like, oh, you put it out there, so you're getting it back. It may not necessarily be true, but it feels true because it's confirming what on the outside what you already believe on the inside. So it's a nice little mental trick.
Next one is anchoring bias. So anchoring bias is you're going by the first thing that you ever heard,
which is silly.
So you heard Black Eyed Peas are not good for you. So somewhere, somebody in your family.
I feel like we've all done this about something.
Yeah.
Hopefully you
don't like Black Eyed Peas and they told you some story about why black-eyed peas are not good because this, that, and the other. And so now your anchoring bias is that black-eyed peas are not good. And anywhere you go and somebody has black-eyed peas and a salad and a this and a pot of ham, you are not going to try them because your anchoring bias is that black-eyed peas are bad for you. And that can apply to anything. But it's the first thing that you ever heard about something, you now have that as your North Star anchoring thing,
your
baseline,
foundation.
Okay. And that can keep you from having honest and good conversations because you got something in your mind that, again, may or may not be true, but because that's been your bias for so long, you don't want to let it go. With it. Yeah. And then the last one that we're going to talk about kind of quickly today is attribution bias. And so this is when you believe something about a person's character based on what their situation is. So, for example, I'll give you an example. And the one I saw today was you think somebody is lazy or can't manage their time well or whatever because they're constantly late to work without being aware of
all the other things that they
maybe they have to take 3 buses
to get to the job.
Maybe they have 3 children that they got to take to 3 different schools before they come to work, and they can't control particularly LA traffic or whatever. But in your mind, you now have a judgment about this person because they're late for work 3 times a week or whatever. Or, that's one example.
And I find it interesting that we don't make like exceptions for those kind of people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just a experience, like there's an expected work culture of like that everyone is gonna follow the same exact rules and do things the same exact way, not accounting for like, yes, person's an employee, yes, you're paying them, but they also have life circumstances that affect the way that they work. And so I don't know, it just has never made sense to me.
And it may not affect the way that they work. It affects your perception of the way they work, because they may work very well. Once
they just might be 15 minutes late.
They might be 15 minutes late. And now you got an attitude and you got a thing with them, so-and-so is this and that and whatever based on, this used to happen to me, but thank God I had really understanding bosses and a forgiving situation where I worked. But when you were in high school, I used to have to leave North Hollywood, drive you to school in Santa Monica, and then leave Santa Monica and drive downtown. I'm saying it for the people.
Oh.
And then if you live in LA, that's a drive. It could be an adventure. It could be an hour and 10 minutes, or it could be 2 hours, depending on what traffic is doing. And I had a myriad of ways to get around traffic, but some days it would be an hour and 20 minutes. And
why? Because everybody's supposed to be at work at the same time. That's why.
Too. So again, fortunately, my bosses didn't ascribe to me the fact,
didn't judge your character.
They didn't judge my character as being shiftless, lazy, whatever, all the things you want to put on people. Because of that, they understood that situation. So that's an attribution bias, where you're ascribing something to somebody's character based on situations that may or may not be out of control. And again, it can cause you to have, not good conversations because you go in with that bias of this person's character.
Can you compound all of those things?
Yeah, you can put them all together. It can be a confirmation bias that you've had from a long time ago because you were in elementary school and, somebody said or did something to you. So now that's your anchoring bias. You also have a confirmation about it, and you've ascribed an attribute to a person, to their character because of a particular situation.
And I think it's important to know, like, which we should know this, but I'm also just putting it out. Like, so that just means that 9 times out of 10, you won't be dealing with the same person repeatedly, right? This is something that happens very early, possibly gets rooted and embedded in your psyche and your emotions or whatever. But then whenever you meet somebody like that said person, then all this stuff starts to...
It's your bias. And
trigger,
you start
to go
reacting from it,
which is why we've had so many conversations about knowing yourself, going back in your history, figuring out all these things so that you could be like, okay, let me look at this and be like, this isn't this person that did this to me in 3rd grade, but I feel like that because you're still the same person. So somewhere in your little kid is like, you can't trust that person because remember the last time, and you just have all this other stuff going on. So sometimes you got to turn all that down and then start to think through all the thoughts so that you don't bring past situations, circumstances into present situations, circumstances, which can be present in said conversation. You bring all that stuff with you into the conversation, and you might not necessarily need any of it or all of it or even part of it. You just gotta. But if you haven't, you
unpacked it.
You haven't unpacked to
go
do
back
all
to
the things.
3 months ago when we were talking about how to unpack things.
Then you won't even really be having a conversation with the person in front of you. You'll be having a conversation with the 3rd grader that snatch your ball or sick your sandwich or whatever the thing is that's your root triggering thing, right?
Yeah.
And won't allow you to be present in the moment to have said important conversation.
Very good. Very good.
I try.
So how can you do better with these skills? Like how can you get past your biases and your things and just realize, wait a minute, I'm off the track here. So the first one is active listening. Active listening means all the people tell you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. That means you're supposed to listen twice as much as you are talking. Okay?
Can I also say this?
Yes.
Sorry. It also means don't be listening or really be in your head thinking about what you're going to say based on what they said. Because you only listen to like the first two words and then you got pissed off and now you thinking about what your response is going to be.
I'm saying.
But that's not a healthy way to have a conversation. I'm just saying it because I know I do it and it's what happens. And you'd be like, well, and they might not have even the whole statement might not have been about that. But you stopped right there. So you didn't really hear it. That's not active listening.
Yeah, it kind of happens.
No, it happens all the time.
It happens. So, try not to do that. Try not to be playing your answer while the person is still talking, because then you're not even hearing their whole conversation.
I think the whole thing, don't have the mindset that this is a debate. I think that's what
I'm a win.
Coming to. It's a debate. I'm a win because I'm right. And your emotions are gonna hype you up. They're gonna hype you up like your homies at the club when you killing on the dance floor. They gonna want to do it, say it. Like they gonna hype you up. So you need to be able to be like, yo, chill the crowd down, okay? And be like, this is not a debate. We're actually here to actively communicate with each other, but communication goes both ways. So you can't be having your guard up, half listening, getting ready to figure out what your next thing. Like we're not fighting. That's not what this is.
And listen, sometimes someone will say something that will make you have an emotional explosion on the inside. And you have to train yourself to say, I'm not going to react to that right now. It's okay to ask for people to stop and clarify and say, you know what? I think I just heard you say this, and this. Is that what you meant to say? Am I conveying what you said correctly? And the person might say, no, that's not what I meant, or whatever. Or they might say, yeah, that's exactly what I meant. And then
they too might be trying to win, so it might be for naught. But
yeah, and then you can say, okay, well, I'm gonna need a minute to think about that because that is causing me. And I know this is very high level, but it's where we want to get to. What you're saying is causing me to feel very upset right now, and my brain is not letting me think of a good answer for what you're saying or a proper response, or I can't even articulate what I'm feeling right now based on what you said because I'm so mad. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to say that and then say back out and say,
or you can pause and say, can we pause this real quick?
Or you can leave the house for 5 hours. I'm just saying.
A real nigga has done it. Let me go ahead and tell you that.
Grab your stuff and be like, I'm out and I will be back 6 hours from now. Yeah, so there you go.
You can always leave the situation.
You can always, there's things that you could do. All right. Try to practice empathy for the other person, what they're saying, why they feel it, how they're feeling it. But again, sometimes you can't do it in the moment. So it's okay to ask for some time and space for that. Use your I statements. Nobody can argue with how you feel.
Ever.
Right? they can't say it's
now
right.
I'm not saying that
or
to
wrong.
be like, this how I'm gonna win. Is I'm just gonna be just take combative conversations and winning the argument. Just take all of that out of your mental mind.
Yeah.
It's not useful.
Just, we'll talk more about that, but it's, don't be a kid. You always, and then whenever you, and I never, and you never, this, that, another. It's more of a way to say, this is how I feel when this happens.
And let me go ahead and say this just because I can hear some people's brains. Saying I statements is going to make you sound soft. You going to feel soft when you saying it. You going to sound soft. And some of us, we not, I don't know about all that. It's fine. Like nobody's going to be judging you. It's a way for you to express and communicate your feelings and get across what you need to say and how you're feeling, because can't nobody argue with how you feel. Now they can argue with what you done and what you said and all that, but they can't argue how you feel. But it is gonna make you feel super soft.
This is what people can also argue when they are having that conversation. They will tell you, that's not what I said. That's not what I did.
Or that's not what I meant.
Or that's not what I meant.
Well, we're not talking about.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about how whatever you said made me feel at this particular point.
And vice versa. How whatever I did made you feel.
Be open to reciprocate with that. All right. Stay calm. Try to manage your emotions. I know it's hard. Watch that little movie. I love that little movie, Inside Out.
Oh yeah. We gotta watch Elemental. I heard it's good too.
I just
it looks like Inside Out Junior,
that movie. But it's hard because when you're caught up in your emotions,
that's your Raymond. Shout out to you, King. Shout out to you for getting that Super Bowl halftime. Anyway, get back.
It's just, it's an amygdala hijack. We talked about that a little bit. Like that part of your brain, that's fight or flight, immediately kicks in. No. This is what we're going to do. So again, it's training, it's reps. You got to learn how to do it. You got to practice how to do it. Practice how to control your body language. Practice how to control your
face.
Tone.
My face. Oh.
My face is bad.
My tone, like I said, it takes a lot to get me to.
You come by it honest, babe.
But my face, I'm not good. I used to be better about it. Now I just be like, yo, what? Like,
yeah, you come by it honest on both sides. Again, generational. It is, and I mean, you come by it from generations on both sides. So it's, you're gonna have to practice.
There's nothing I can do. Am I gonna practice?
Yes, you can. There is something you can do if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't. But if you want to, you can.
Because here's the thing: what I feel like with my facial expressions, I've seen facial expressions that are meant to be aggressive. They're meant to exacerbate the situation. Okay, you want the smoke. You're not verbally saying you want the smoke, but your face is saying you want the smoke. And some of you are great nonverbal communicators about being like, I want the smoke. Don't let my silence fool you. I want the smoke. For me, my facial expressions are, you can't be serious, or like I know that's not what you know what I mean? I know that's not what you really mean. Like, I just be like, come on, dog. Mine are more so, come on, dog. Like, it's me. Like, don't try to play me. Let's be 100. Like, come on. Some of y'all though, I get it. I understand. It's a way of saying it's not verbally communicating. Again, because you came in here with that Game of Thrones energy that you want to smoke. And you like, okay, I'm not going to say it with my mouth, but I'm going to think it and I'm going to say it with my face. I don't know if that's what your facial expression is.
And sometimes, again, like we were talking about,
for herself.
It is based on confirmation bias, attribution bias.
Okay, I can see that.
What was the other one?
Attribution, confirmation, attribution, anchoring bias.
Anchoring. Yeah. Anchoring bias. Some of the times your reactions are based on those things, which may or may not be true. And I think,
have you ever questioned the nature of your reality?
I'm telling you, growing up, like, it took me years. I was probably in my 40s before I realized, well, there could be another side to this other than the way that I am looking at it and the way that I'm presented.
You really think that way?
I'm trying. It's better than it was when I was 30. You didn't know me then. But it's better. It's much better.
We'll take better.
All right.
Okay.
This Truthful Chat today.
I'm not trying to judge your little journey.
All right. Seek common ground. Find something you maybe can agree on. If it ain't but one point, like try and say, okay, that part I don't understand, but I do understand this, and see if you can get to that place of commonality, because then it'll open up the conversation a little bit more. It builds trust, it builds rapport, and ultimately your goal is to have a win-win, not a I won, you lost.
I told you, you're not supposed to be like, I got him. You know what I mean?
You're supposed to have a win-win. You know, win-wins are always better than lose wins. So try to get to the point where you can do that.
All right. So if you're wondering if there are ways that you can get ready for difficult conversations, here are a few tips. Okay. Number one, very important. Okay. Choose the right time and the right place. When the amygdala hijack happens, sometimes everybody jumps high, but it's not the right time nor said right place. Okay. Make sure under that, number one, this is the A point, ensure that there's privacy. Now, when I say privacy, you may want to have a door open in case, something pop off. Maybe a mediator. Okay. But ensure that you're in a private place.
Well,
I
something
think
just happened recently where we were talking about somebody.
Particularly for people of color, sometimes anytime is the right time. We're like, okay, well, we just gonna talk about this in the middle of the grocery store.
Or at the Oscars.
At the Chris Rock brought that upon himself.
At the Oscars.
Willard Smith has been a diplomat his whole life. You chose the time and the place. I'm sorry. We're sorry to you white people, but sometimes it's the right time, right place. Anyway, ensure privacy. We're praying for y'all. Minimize the distractions. Sometimes y'all be wanting to have conversations with kids around and all kind of things. I'm not judging. I'm just saying sometimes it's not like the best. When y'all cooking, that's probably not the best. People messing with people's food and doing all things. That just might not, things get thrown.
Hot grease.
Some of y'all, ever since the reality shows, y'all like to be throwing drinks on each other, which is so not classy. Just don't do that, okay? Next, find a neutral and a comfortable environment. I know this can be hard, especially if we're all living on top of each other, but maybe outside in the front yard or the backyard.
I am quick to say, can you meet me at Starbucks? Like, if I call you,
catch you smoking Starbucks too, but
if I call you and say, hey, you wanna, and we've been having a back and forth about something, that could be the point where I'm gonna have a conversation. It could be a little bit difficult, but I feel like in the Starbucks, we all have to act with a certain amount of decorum, hopefully. In this day and age, who knows? But anyway, find a space in the park, at a bench, somewhere where you feel like, okay, I can have this conversation and the environment is not also triggering at the same time.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Public parks.
Yeah.
Well, I just told you to make it private, but still, you know what I mean? But neutral environment.
Hopefully. You and another person on a bench in a park is still private. It's not,
And don't be hollering and it's just sometimes it's not right. Okay. Number 2, plan and prepare. Okay. Make a plan and prepare. Like you would prepare for the first day of school, the first day of work, how you gonna get where you going, all of that. You got the plan and you got to prepare. Okay. Define your objectives and your desired outcomes prior to getting there. This the thing. This what it is. We don't be doing this. We done hyped ourselves up. Like I said, all of our emotions at the club, we on the dance floor, we ready. We come in, Game of Thrones ready, swords and shields, we ready to jacares, like we ready to just go off. We're not doing none of these steps, okay? Plan and prepare, define your objectives and desired outcomes. Anticipate the potential challenges. I think this is very important. If it's your auntie and if you use certain trigger words or talk about certain things, that's going to send somebody, maybe not that. Maybe that's not the thing that you lead with or start with or even bring up at all, okay?
Don't talk about this. Why your kids don't even like you because so-and-so and such and such. And you remember Uncle Bobby left you because of this and that. Da, 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 da. You don't want to do that.
Keep the main thing, okay? Gather relevant information or evidence, okay? Now this goes beyond your confirmation bias and your anchoring bias, your attribution bias, and just how you feel, okay? Make sure you have evidence, maybe from some other family members or some other people, or receipts.
Now you're talking about an intervention.
Is what I'm saying. To make sure to have some level of receipts so that it just don't feel like you make it, because they gonna say it ain't me, it's you. And so you want to be able to be like, said receipts, okay? Consider the alternative solutions, okay? I don't know, after you talk it out, might not be where it needs to be. You may need, we're big proponents of therapy or mediators, or everybody usually got that one family member that's calm and zen. Like they're not really, probably because they don't mess with y'all too, but they're calm and zen that you might.
They got a whole nother family.
They just want
whole
a whole
nother set of friends. They got a whole nother vibe.
They come around every now and then, but normally they're not there because they don't want to deal with all that. So you may need a mediator. You just may need some alternative solutions to what's happening. Okay.
I saw a meme.
About that.
I just saw a meme one time where they were talking about all the different aunties and cousins that come to the cookout.
Oh yeah, for Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
it goes around.
It goes around, and some of them exactly from looking at them what they're gonna be about. And you got that bougie auntie that she don't even be around y'all, and she
does. And some of these things are because said conversations have not been had. So maybe you'll be a change agent in the family. Maybe all your aunties will start talking to each other because you talk to your one auntie. 3, frame the conversation. This sounds like very big people words, but you want to be neutral, non-confrontational approach. That means don't come with your smoke engine pre-revs. Like don't be like, don't come with, just try not to be confrontational. Come from a neutral place, okay? Maybe you need to meditate before you pray, before you put on some worship music, some R&B, however you do what you do. I wouldn't recommend smoking and drinking. I don't think that's, because now we're getting into impaired judgment, okay? Maybe you need to take a walk prior to, maybe write something in a journal, you know what I mean? Talk to somebody with a calming energy before. Just don't come on nuck if you buck status, okay? Express your intention to resolve the issue. Again,
and I'm gonna tell you what else helps not to come on nuck on you if you buck. If you write it down. If you write down the part you said before about
so
the
then your
plan,
brain can't
you write down the plan. So this is what I want to talk about. On the other side of the paper, write down, this is probably what they might think about.
It's all role playing.
It's all, you
just think through a scenario.
Okay, now I can understand why they said that, but I need to explain to them, this is the reason I feel this way. That's your evidence, right? Evidence. So you are getting like a case together like Bonnie Willis.
But this isn't court.
Whatever. It's not court. But in your mind, you have a plan. And if you have a plan, that allows you not to get emotional because you know what you have. You have it laid out. Okay.
Again, express your intention to resolve the issue. If this is a person that you want in your life, you care about, you want the situation to get better, that's what you should lead with, not you bald-headed in your breath stink. Anyway, next, set the tone for open and respectful. I can't stress it enough. Set the tone for open and respectful dialogue. Okay, let's not take jabs and insults, which is what I just said, but to really just be like, let's try to really communicate well and better and use these said steps that we're giving you, and that it doesn't get disrespectful. Okay. Number 4, practice self-care, which we kind of just talked about, managing your stress, managing your anxiety before you get into the conversation. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you don't be doing these things and you just think like I'm finna jump in it, you gonna get beat up. It's not gonna go the way that you planned.
If it start off with, she said what? That's my face. She said what?
What she say? Like,
what she?
It is.
Oh,
the triggers is gonna take.
We already gone. The engine is.
Phew! You could just
NASCAR start your engine.
Toss it out the window. Seek support from trusted individuals. I was talking about this earlier. It's always one person who decided to protect themselves they're not gonna fool with y'all but once or twice a year. That's the person that needs to be mediating your conversation. They probably live in a whole other state. They got a whole.
They might not live in a whole other state.
They might not, but they just might
don't
not
mess with y'all.
That's usually the person because they've learned all this and they got all the tricks and they just know they know how to disengage. They know how to disengage and they could just
and re-engage and they
disengage and re-engage.
They manage their emotions.
They've learned,
and that's what you're trying to learn how to do.
So get that everybody know it's the cousin, the auntie, the big brother, somebody who be like, you only see them at big family functions, holidays. You don't see them no other time. Maybe they don't answer your texts or your phone calls, but they're in a Zen place. Okay. Reflect and learn from each conversation. Okay. So you may need to have multiple conversations. I'm gonna tell you right now, for some of y'all, the first time you're gonna watch this and you're gonna be like, okay, I know what to do. And you're gonna go and you're gonna try, and it ain't gonna go how you thought.
Listen,
and that's okay.
We really have been working on this for 10 years at least.
And I don't know that we're
I've been working on it longer than that. And we're still not perfect at it. It's a work in progress always. As the saints say, we go from glory to glory. And sometimes we go from non-glory to non-glory. But at any rate, it's something that you need to be aware about.
Or nah, fam, that ain't it.
But at least the practice is going, your practice. Okay.
So at the end of the day, it's very important to have difficult conversations. We hope we've given you some skills, some things to lay out, to think about, to consider. Please go back and watch this. And I think we're going to have some more things in the future to aid in this.
Especially during the holidays.
Especially during the holidays.
We feel like we need to help.
Because here's the thing, you should be able to enjoy the holidays. And nothing is worse than you done paid all this money to fly back to the house to sit with people who you're supposed to love unconditionally, but you really just hate them and you just dreading every single moment with them and you want to get on the plane.
And sometimes you forget. Like you have a fantasy in your mind, like you have a movie.
The commercials be out, the movies
out.
For the holidays.
Like, oh, I should. And then as soon as you get home, you're like,
oh, it ain't none of that.
Oh Lord, I remember why I don't do this. So we hope.
And you're like, I should have just booked that flight to go halfway across the world to sit on the beach.
Go to Tulum.
And worry about me and mine. I told you this, that one person, they don't never come to the thing. Them is the people that need to be mediating your conversation.
You look up on their Instagram, they're in Dubai.
And you like, why they not here? They not messing with y'all. Anyway, it can be difficult to have these conversations, but it's important to take the necessary steps to prepare, to plan, to get your own mental mind and yourself and your space correct and right before you engage in said conversation so that you can have a favorable outcome. That you're not approaching it with smoke energy, that you are aware of your biases.
You have to know yourself before you can tell the people.
Know and tell.
Know first
before the telling.
And then you'll be able to tell what you're feeling with truth and clarity and respect. And that you can feel good about it at the end of the day. And I think that, they're going to be uncomfortable. This is what we keep saying. The first time you do this, probably 3 times, it ain't going to go like you thought, okay? Unless you're like mad skilled and mad practice. But you got to, I feel like for the first 2 to 3 conversations to go well, you got to be practicing for at least like 6 months, 8 months by yourself before you ever involve anyone else to be like, okay. Get a good friend that knows your family dynamic and will say,
y'all can role play or whatever.
You can say, okay, my mama. If I say this, what you think she gonna say? And then y'all can kind of like work
6 to 8 months.
Some
6 to 8 months.
Things like, okay, and that friend will tell you, no, you might not want to say that because you know your mama too. Blah, blah, blah. And then y'all can come up with some alternative A, B, and C scenarios.
So like March to October, you could be doing your little role play. Because in, December, January, it's gonna be happening. Then February, you're gonna be mad. You're gonna need at least a month to calm down. So like March to right about now, you could be practicing so then you'll be geared up for the next holiday season. Anyway, they're hard, but these conversations are necessary for professional growth, personal growth. We didn't really talk about work too much, but it's the same. Okay. Don't snatch your coworkers, punch your boss,
You don't want to wind up in HR.
You don't want to because your work reputation is important, okay? And you don't want to have the reputation of going from place to place, being non-communicative or frustrating or difficult to work with, which is a very easy jacket to put on people.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all about creating generational wellness. So you want to be the person, hopefully, that breaks the generational curses. I know that's like a buzzword now, but really the patterns and systems and sometimes the people that have led to particular family patterns that are ingrained or baked into the way that your family runs.
Yeah, and
that
sometimes
probably are not the most healthy or good for you or anybody else, really, whether they realize it or not.
And sometimes it's not a generational curse. It's just a conversation y'all have never had.
It's true.
Or a conversation. It's a habit of how you talk about this, or you've never had the conversation about it. But if y'all could figure out how to have the conversation, voila, maybe the curse would be broken, because that might be part of the conversation. The curse is we don't talk about it. We don't talk about Bruno. We do not talk about this. And so that's a way that you can start to break through and get to.
And like we say all the time,
a well place.
Sometimes those family secrets and them things is deep, deep wells. You might need backup. I would not encourage you, if you have a lot of emotional trauma or physical trauma or sexual trauma in your family, don't try to do that by yourself. You need a professional, okay? Because it's a lot of different personality types and, people deal with things in different ways. So you may need a little bit of extra help. But you can be the catalyst. You can start it. But do it in a respectful, healthy. We all want to resolve this manner and matter. And if people aren't ready to have a conversation, that's a thing too, okay? But it don't need to mess up your holiday season, all right? We just want you to have a good time. Try to enjoy your family, okay? So yes, this has been September. This has been the No series, okay? It's October. October is coming. It's the Halloween season. Shout out to y'all. We're not gonna have nothing about Halloween. We don't really do that.
I don't know what the theme is for next month.
We don't know yet, but we'll be here. And we'll hope you're here. But you ain't gonna know what's going on because you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel. Follow us on IG. Like us on Facebook, fan base. We are at Create Generational Wellness on all the things. If you are listening to us in the audio verse, please rate, review, tell a friend to tell a friend, shoot some episodes along. If you know that your friend or you is going home to what could be a soul food type, this Christmas type. I feel like all the holiday movies are bad, except Home Alone, because Kevin was home alone. That'll preach. all the family holiday movies usually involve some level of dysfunction and madness because everybody's together trying to pretend to be happy. Anyway, pass this episode along. And yeah, we'll be here next week and over the holidays to help guide you through said things as we probably navigate our own holiday. But let me tell you something. I cut a lot of that out of my life. She could do what she wants. But she's like, you're not going to the thing? I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to the thing. I am Kevin McAllister. That is one of my favorite holiday movies. I watch it every year. I used to watch it with my friends, and there's a reason for that. So sometimes, Kevin, I'm living alone. Sometimes that needs to be solitude for the holidays. But anyway.
Oh, God.
With that, we'll see you next week. Goodbye.